Hey guys, Hybrid Tour Reviews here with a Star Wars The Black Series Artillery Stormtrooper. I'm sorry to interrupt the video that you were about to watch, but I just had to tell you a little bit about this guy. He is the prize to whoever's lucky enough to win him once the channel crosses 1,000 subscribers. We're very nearly there, so if you're not subscribed, click subscribe down below and wait until I cross 1,000 subscribers and I'll upload a video telling you how you guys can enter to win this guy. He's a super cool figure and I think whoever wins him is going to be very, very happy with him. Anyway, I'm going to let you get back to your video. Thanks a bunch for hearing me out on this, and I hope you enjoy the upcoming video. Bye! Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, taking a look at the Star Wars The Black Series Obi Wan Kenobi from the Obi Wan Kenobi TV show. This is his Wandering Jedi outfit, his most common outfit from the second and third episode. It's a pretty iconic look. Maybe the Jedi robes from later on in the show are a little bit more iconic. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the review. Alright, you guys know the drill. As always, we'll start by taking a look at the packaging. So this is your standard Galaxy packaging, with your Black Series logo up top, a big window showing Obi-Wan and his accessories off nicely, Star Wars Obi Wan Kenobi in a very light blue. I like the blue color here. Obi Wan Kenobi quotes Wandering Jedi, warning 4+ Hasbro. This side of the box features some really cool artwork of Obi-Wan. It's actually really good. I do really dig the way that they've done that there. This wraparound window goes around this side with the wraparound blue stripe and a Black Series logo down at the very bottom. Around back features a zoomed in look at that same artwork from the side. Get your Black Series logo, his name, a bio in varying languages. However, it's not really a bio about Obi-Wan. It's just a bio about the show, saying it's years after the movie. And I'm like, yeah, great. Tell me about Obi-Wan. He's number 1 in the Kenobi lineup. There's a bunch of legalese below that. And there's a barcode and some legalese. And the top of the box features a little window. It does allow some light into the packaging just to help better illuminate the contents when on display. So that's what the box looks like. Without further ado, let's open it up, take a look at what we're getting here. Alright, so here's Obi-Wan out of the box, and you guys know the drill. As always, we'll start by taking a look at his accessories. So, before we get into his particular accessories, how about we take a look at the accessory character? Obi-Wan comes packaged with Lola, who actually turned out really nice. I do like how Lola is looking in this particular figure set. Do kind of wish that we would get a Kid Leia in the line, just so that then we could, actually have, Lola's owner. But Lola came out very nice, kind of like a creamy white top with a red ring. The wings are raised and actually ball jointed. She's so tiny, you're going to see more fingers than Lola, but they're ball jointed. They won't lay flat, so you can't have a folded up Lola, but you can articulate them a little bit. Her legs are one piece that's molded onto a ball joint, so you can kind of wobble her legs to, change her, position, when she's on the ground. She also features a little hole in the front, which you might not see. It seems like the shadow's kind of filling in. But anyway, in the seam between the plates there's a little hole. And you can plug in this little saw accessory. It doesn't pour it in very deep, but it does give you Lola's little cutter accessory that you see a few times in the show. Removing that, there's one more accessory for Lola. If you pull off her legs at that ball joint, she comes with this clear little flight stand ball joint. You just press that into the hole that the legs go in, and then you have her looking to float. And the bottom of the stand features a little clip-looking thing. So I don't necessarily know if it's intended, like Obi-Wan, like a lot of modern figures, has a rubbery overshirt. I figure if you can kind of pinch that onto the rubbery overshirt, then you kind of get her, hovering near his head. I don't know if that's exactly as intended, but that's kind of the assumption that I'm making with this. So, setting Lola and her accessories off to the side, setting Obi-Wan back on the stand now. As far as Obi-Wan's personal accessories go, he comes with his new blaster for the show. It looks alright, in kind of a coppery brown color with a black grip. Doesn't necessarily look like any other blaster I've ever seen in Star Wars, kind of a generic Star Wars looking gun. Kind of follows the trend of modern Star Wars guns. I think I mentioned that fairly recently, I think in the Saw Gerrera video, that, Star Wars guns just look like modern handguns. They don't really do that kind of weird old German gun with a scope or whatever like they did with Han Solo. I kind of prefer that original trilogy vibe. Oh, as I drop his pistol. So, but that's not necessarily a Kenobi failure. That's more a prop department failure. Whoever's there just really has a preference for Glocks over elegance. So, it looks really good, though. He has a good trigger finger and then a holster with one of those straps that you lift up out of the way. You can push the pistol down in. Fits rather well. And then the strap can be pegged back over for some really good hip holster storage. And of course it does stay in rather nicely. For his other accessory, he comes with his standard blue lightsaber, something that we've seen similar props to a number of times in the line. Looking very good this time. It looks to be a new sculpt, but of a prequel hilt with an original hilt's paint scheme. You know, it's very worn out looking, but it is like sculpted like a more prequel version. However, it does feature the little lever near the clamp there, so maybe it is a more original looking vibe. But I really like how this hilt turned out. It's a really nice deep blue. A lot of the Obi Wan figures end up getting these like really pale blue lightsabers. The Revenge of the Sith one in particular almost looking clear. So I do really like the choice of blue here. As with all other Black Series lightsabers, the blade unpegs from the hilt. And unlike many Jedi figures, he actually has a little hole in his belt that you can peg the saber hilt into for belt storage. It's a little bit to the rear instead of right out in front. He's not displaying it proudly. He's hiding it under the robe. These are the dark times, after all. Now, setting the lightsaber aside, taking a look at Obi-Wan. I gotta say, this is honestly a pretty good-looking figure. I was a little bit nervous when Ewan McGregor himself said that he didn't really see the likeness. I don't know what figure Ewan had. I mean, obviously it was this one. I mean, I'm not going to say it's dead ringer, but it's very recognizable as Obi Wan Kenobi. I do really like the likeness here. The one thing I will say is that his hair is very, just brown, orange, very prequel color. I think they really should have added a gray wash in there just to kind of give the implication, that he is older. He's not full gray, but he's graying in the show, so I think, probably a little bit of gray would have gone a long way on this figure. He comes with a accessory on him in the package, which is his, not necessarily Jedi robe, but Jedi-looking robe, and it's really nice looking. It's a really good fabric cut robe. It's very slightly different from prequel Jedi robes. It's screen accurate in that it has this bunched up seam that's stitched on midway down the arms. One thing I noticed in the show that the figure is missing is the robe is supposed to have a slit, kind of think like a duster, like Western jacket down the center of the back, basically from the waist all the way to the bottom. And this robe doesn't have that, but it's not the end of the world, but technically is inaccurate. Slipping the robe off of Obi-Wan just so we can take a better look at the figure. There's a lot of really good sculpt work going on here, I gotta say. As mentioned in the segment with Lola, the shirt is a rubber overlay, so technically there is a tan, torso underneath going. There's not really any other way to look at it, but, if you bunch it up and try and look down, you do see skin color, plastic as far down as, you can see. And there's just a really nice texture to all the robes. It's very accurate looking to the costume at this point in the show. Although I will say it's very clean looking. Anything that you see that looks like darker areas is just shadow. There's not any wash or anything applied. But of course, with as many accessories as he has, we should probably consider ourselves lucky that he's not labeled as a deluxe figure. Because I think if they'd have thrown a wash on there, they absolutely would have, even though he's normal size. But he's a new sculpt, and there's a lot of paint on him. Right. At least he would have the accessories to back that claim up. So it's a very clean shirt, and it's just very basic, boring, Tatooine-looking clothes. He has some nice brown pants. He has the kind of bunched up, upper boot fabric wraps, and then the brown boots just looking nice. Around back, very boring, very plain, very Obi-Wan in this outfit. It's what he looks like. So, one thing I'd like to point out, and it bugs me, and it's going to tie into the articulation segment, which we'll get to directly after, is the way that they have sculpted the sleeve cuffs. So, to try and hide the wrist articulation, they've done kind of like a lot of the Jedi robe figures do, where the peg goes in more like here in the arm, and there's actually just like a plastic cone around it. And the problem with that is I think Obi-Wan has dual up and down wrist hinges, but he can't actually move them more than just a tiny wobble. You can get your rotation out of them, but they've kind of, forsaken articulation for the sake of appearance. And I don't really collect McFarlane toys. I like articulation, and that's why I'm with Hasbro with their Black Series figures. So that's a little bit frustrating. A customization I may attempt to do with this figure is just to cut just a hair of that fabric back. Not much. Just enough to free up that range a little bit. Because I think he could do some really cool lightsaber poses, except he's been screwed by his wrist articulation here. So, speaking of articulation, let's do a total rundown. He is completely new, after all. He features a double barbell neck, which can look that far up, although it does gap a tiny bit in the front. He can go that far down, which is really good. Gets some side-to-side and pivot, of course. His arms can come up to a T-pose, not any higher, but that's okay. With butterfly joints and 360 at the shoulder, single-jointed elbows can go maybe just a hair past 90 and rotate. As was mentioned, 360 on the wrists, and both of them going up and down. Perfect lightsaber articulation, just terrible sculpt holding it back. Features a mid-torso ball joint, allowing him to crunch that far forward, that far back, which is really far. Gives him side-to-side pivot and rotation. His legs can kick that far out. They can go pretty far forward, tiny little bit back. Upper thigh rotation, single-jointed knee can go just past 90 degrees. And then he has no boot cut, but he can rotate at the knee. And then his feet can point very much straight down, pretty decently far forward, and there's a forward-facing pin for rocker, allowing for some decently wide stances with both feet flat on the ground. To do a couple of size comparisons, how about Obi-Wan next to the Jedi Patrol Stormtrooper without the backpack, so he's just a Stormtrooper officer. And we'll bring in... This is not the Kenobi one, this is the... Technically, it's the retro card Empire Strikes Back Vader, but it's the same as the Galaxy packaging Empire Strikes Back Vader. The Kenobi Obi-Wan figure was made using the A New Hope retro card Vader and the red box, Vader, which means he doesn't have butterfly joints, and so this is technically the better Vader if you don't care about some paint variation on the chest buttons. So I'm passing on the Kenobi figure. Objectively, it's a fine figure, but I'm just not going to get that Kenobi Vader. So... Anyway, I think he looks pretty good. So, end of the day, what do I think of this Obi Wan Kenobi figure? And, I gotta be honest, I do really like it. There are some little nitpicky frustrations with it. I'm really bugged by that wrist articulation. The fabric cape could have that slit in the back. That's something I could do, but, it's just like, I think it should have it. But maybe they didn't know. Maybe they're just like, oh, it's just a regular Jedi robe with, like bicep stitching. But objectively, it's a fine figure, and I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy that I own it. I think that there's a lot of people out there that are going to be happy when they get their chance to pick this one up. He looks really cool. I gotta say, Lola, any accessories are welcome, but Lola is a bit of a weird inclusion, just because, when I think of the character, I don't associate her with Obi-Wan. I associate her with Leia, and I'm hoping that this isn't their way of just giving us the iconic droid from the show and then never giving us Leia, because I honestly think Kid Leia is an essential figure for the Kenobi shelf at this point. I don't really... this figure needs that little Leia standing next to him, slightly behind, while he's defending her, So, I think a Kid Leia is an essential. I think because they've covered a lot of figures from the show in the line, I think once they announce her, the Kenobi line will probably be as fleshed out as it can reasonably get. But yeah, Kid Leia is a figure I really want. So, Lola's kind of probably not even going to make the shelf. She's probably going to go in the accessory bin until a Kid Leia comes around. But, I'm glad that they threw her in. She came out pretty nice. I do like her. When Kid Leia comes out, I think we should also get a variant of Lola with her where she's, closed up, folded up, when she puts her in her pocket. So I think that would be a good, version of Lola to get there. But Obi-Wan himself looks really good. I'm really happy with him. I'm happy that I picked him up. Just a couple of quirks, but it's a Black Series figure. What can you expect at this point? And yeah, I dig it a lot. So I'm going to go. Thanks a bunch for watching, guys. Check back soon. I'm going to have a Reva review up. I picked him and Reva up from a local Facebook Marketplace listing yesterday. So I have him, I have Reva. Those are going to be our reviews for the week. I also have a Tython Boba Fett coming from Amazon. I'm sure I'll probably end up doing a review of him, even though he's old. But yeah, plenty of stuff to check out. Thanks a bunch for watching. Do a like, subscribe. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're giving away that Artillery Stormtrooper. And that's it for now. Until next time, may the Force be with each and every one of you. Bye.